to the Unconstitutional Awakening program.
Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition.
Brought to you by KD Consulting Redesigned.
Ahoy there, mateys. It's time to set sail on another episode of Unconstitutional Awakening. This evening, you guys, I had to bring back Lowell because, we did not finish that conversation that we started with him the other day, and I just knew that I was going to have him back. I know it went on kind of long, and I appreciate you guys that hung in there for the long haul of that episode. I really like when the episodes get like that because it just gets super deep. And, and of course, him and Luis and me have been conversating outside of that ever since then too, because he got hooked on doing the AI stuff that Luis was showing off that he does a fantastic job at. And of course, you guys can always find more Luis. Now you can find him on the website, easily access to his website from our website down there. If you click on the bottom, of course, you just got to check that out. Because while you're over there on the website, you can do some fantastic things like checking out all of our sponsors and things like that. Because I've been trying to work on the website and make it look a little bit better than it has been being, instead of just being your, run-of-the-mill little website. Any of you guys that have been on there since the beginning know that it's come a long way from where I started it. So we're always adding some new things, including that brand new opening that you guys seen this evening. That's because I've invited Luis, and now we got Luna and stuff like that. We're just growing the Unconstitutional Awakening family. And shoot, you guys ever want to keep up a little bit with Lowell? I seen him join the website over there at the UA Social, so that means you guys can just reach out to him even on there, and he's gonna get back to you, I'm pretty sure. So
absolutely,
Lowell, I do appreciate you coming back to complete this story. I'm excited for tonight because he said this is where it's going to get good and spicy, and he's going to bring us some good information tonight, some good things to show us. So, but hopping back a little bit to go ahead and make those plugs for all those fantastic people out there watching us on Rumble and Odyssey and BitChute and everybody listening all those platforms wide. I got the official announcement that Podbean alone just got its 5,000 audio downloads. So and then on the whole entire thing, it's way higher than that, but I was just happy to see that on the main podcast thing there, it was that 5,000 downloads from that alone. So I thank you guys. That's a lot out there, and I appreciate it. And everybody else out there listening on Apple and Google and Amazon, everywhere else. I couldn't list them all because there's just so many, but you guys can keep helping us keep it going and stuff like that, and keep it at all these stations for you if you just give a check out to our sponsors, like my buddy over there at Kirk Elliott at kirkelliottphd.com/Jimbob/ and he's doing the consulting on the gold and silver. But like Luis mentioned before, I think silver's your best bet right now because there's a whole lot going on with gold if you're not paying attention to the world out there. So that's kirkelliottphd.com/Jimbob, and that's for all your consulting needs, all of the sea dogs and land lovers alike. And of course, you guys can get over there and check out our local healer that does the energy healing, and she makes fantastic candles and even soaps. Her most recent soap, of course, is this fantastic Swab the Deck version right here, guys. I can't even explain it. It smells just that fantastic. That's Peachy Key Creations. You can find her on Facebook. Right now is the best way to get a hold of her. And, all you got to do is get out there and keep swabbing your deck until you feel the overwhelming sense of inner content. That she wrote that for me to try to get you guys to spice it up a little piratey over here. So, of course, we also got my buddy Ammo Can, who is back from vacation. So he is looking forward to all those orders and going to fill all the ones from last week that you guys probably piled into his thing. Ammo Can's been working on great things from his excuse me, from his new ghillie suits to his fantastic plate carriers, as well as all of his camping and first aid and survival stuff. That's Ammo Can Survival, and you can find him over there on Instagram. And my latest buddy here, of course, Brett Pike. I think this goes along with everything we continue to talk about. Those 2 million people that have walked away from the indoctrination camps this year. This is something you need in your back pocket. The Homeschools Connected. He's built a whole group of people out here that are all just helping each other. It's not just him working at it. There's a bunch of us out there, feeding information into this to help teach kids a better way than they've been being taught. So you guys hop on over to unconstitutionalawakening.com and you can find all that and all of our merch and stuff like that. So it'll be great to, help out the show when you can. So of course, I got to start things off by asking, how is everyone doing this evening?
Wonderful.
Luis, how has your Labor Day weekend been, buddy?
It's been good. Discovered new things. So it's been great.
Bandit, how you doing over there?
Doing good. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Mr. Lowell, it's been a week since you've been on, but I am so excited that you decided to come back and join us again. I for one, appreciate you coming over here and hanging out with us. I think you fit right in with this interesting crowd we already got. How have you been, sir?
Well, it's been mostly inside because where I am, it's triple digits. And it was 90 degrees by like 10 o'clock here in an area that, yeah. And the days have had like 40-degree swings, like 50s at night. And then it gets to 100 during the day. Oh my God.
Well, at least you don't have fires this season.
Yeah, there was, we all love Mount Shasta. And if you've been following the news, there was a huge fire there just north of it. Weed is the next community just north of it. And the lumber mill caught on fire first. So when that went, it took a whole community out with it. They're still trying to contain it. And I think that's like 75% contained, but people have lost their homes. A few people lost their lives. It hurt to watch that happen. It was awful.
The mill fire over there near yes. Lake Shasta, actually.
You would think your tax money would go into controlling these things.
There's so much open area out there that's so dry that all it takes is one lightning strike to just start it. You want to think, well, how did we get to this? Did somebody start that fire? No, nature started that fire. Like the other ones that were there the year before last, it was the same situation on a different side. But I can see where it would be easy, especially when you look at, if you've seen Mount Shasta Lake Shasta when you've driven by there, it's at such a low level that it's just, I don't understand where the water has gone.
Didn't they cut back on preemptive burns? California, didn't they cut those out? And they stopped the fire breaks and burning ahead of time. They cut those all out, right? Yeah.
You can't risk it catching wind and, moving off to another area.
Very true. Very true.
Tax dollars at work right there.
So, of course, if you guys are just tuning into this technical part 2 here to the one we just did the other week, I advise you hit the pause button and hop back to the previous episode that had Lowell on it to make sure that you guys are all caught up to know where we are. Because as it's a hell of a story so far, and he's here to complete this story this evening. And as he told me, he's about to show us some stuff that I don't think anybody else has seen. So this is good. This is going to be an exciting night.
Very few people have seen it, and I have not shared it online yet. So I'm going to premiere these things that I haven't shown to anybody else, but they're part and parcel of the story. And if you don't get to see them, then when I talk about artifacts, that'll sound cool. But when I get to show you the pictures of them, now it'll mean something.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Me too.
So where do you want to pick up? Like you were saying that before we had started that you guys had already exited Shasta. So that's about where we left off last time.
Yeah, that's a good spot. Yeah, we kind of covered my experience in Telos. And I don't want to take anything away from that because it was magical. It was miraculous. You know, the universe has got a plan for me that is unfolding. And when Telos came along, it took me months to assimilate, you know, what it was first, why me, how did these things happen before I could put that into perspective. And what that was going to turn out to be was my first multidimensional experience. It was going to be the one that I would share with people because Telos resonates with lots of people, as does Shasta, as does Lemuria. All you have to do is kind of wave those things and mention Middle Earth, and you got a lot of people's attention. Well, what happened next, I didn't see Telos coming. I absolutely didn't see what was coming after that. So we're going to hyper jump from where we left Telos the beginning of August in 2020 to a return trip to Mount Shasta. And before I'm going to Shasta, the first part of August, I'm due back at Mickey Magic's compound in the Santa Cruz Mountains. I had driven across country and I was due back there on a Friday afternoon. I was going to spend the weekend. I used to have an IT company among all the other things I did lots of websites. And so when it came to kind of help Mickey revamp his, because we needed to make it easier for people to buy Andaras from him, it was my intention to begin to help. Look, got lots of expertise. So I'll be here for, you know, the weekend. Well, when I got there on Friday afternoon, there was somebody there with her. She has an entourage. We'll call her Kumu. Now, I hadn't met her before. I didn't know her, didn't know anything about her. But she and Mickey have, well, at that time, 2 years ago, I had understood that she and Mickey had been healers together in the past, done lots of kind of work with Andara crystals, and they have history. So she was there. When she travels with students that assist her along her path. She has 2 other colleagues that have also traveled with her. One's a close friend that she's known for a long time, and the other one has become a friend. And I understand over 10 years, she was a psychologist who had heard about some of these extraordinary phenomenon that was going on around her and wanted to see it for herself from a professional perspective. They were all there that day. So when I first got there and went to meet her, she's an older Hawaiian woman. That's where she was born. That's where her family is from. They have a plantation that's been there for generations. And she's about my age. So when I went over to, you know, introduce myself, I took her hand, you know, to see if I could sense some energy. And there was something there. I just couldn't put my finger on what it was. Well, we spent the rest of the afternoon getting to know one another. Not just me one-on-one. The life at Mickey's house takes place on his back deck. And we all sit around the table there. So there could be 2 people there. There could be 20 people there. It just depends on the day and what's going on and what the weather's like. And, that's kind of life at Mickey's. When we got toward the end of the afternoon, she got up from the table and went over in a corner where Mickey's got lots of plants that grow like crazy in this area. It's called the Enchanted Forest for a reason, and things just flourish there. I didn't know what she was doing over in the corner of the deck until later, but she called me over. And when she did, she asked me to put my arms up around this 8-foot marijuana plant that's in the corner. And she gave me an Eliom to chant. So I did it till I felt silly. And then I stopped and I turned around. And by that time, whatever she was done, whatever she was finishing doing, she had been completed. And so we stepped into the house to get out of the sunlight. And earlier in the day, she had shown me pictures that she had taken, dimensional images that she had captured along her lifetime. And they were extraordinary. Every time I saw one, I said, well, could I have that? She goes, no, you can't have these. But when we stepped in the house, and I'm going to share what I'm talking about with you. I'm going to show you what happened. Bear with me for a moment. Here we go. Okay. Can you see this image?
Yes.
Yeah. The pictures that she had taken around that plant were these. She had called in light beams. Now, I'll preface this by telling you she's a hybrid, and I'll explain more about that as we go along. But she has a connection to beings in this realm. So this was the first one she took. That was the second image that she'd taken. And then this. And then this. Here's where, when I had my arms around it, that being appears as though it's going in my third eye and kind of out the back and down the back of my chakra. And while this is happening, I get a sensation like there's something on the back of my neck. And it's that. Yes, I'm starting to get some downloads. So I don't know what any of this means at the time. And she leaves. So that's Friday. I don't know what to make of it. I don't understand it, but they're really cool pictures. And can I have them? And the answer is yes. So later in the evening, she sent them to me so I can begin to digest them. And I still don't really know where this magic came from and how it applies to me, right? It looked like you had a question. Okay.
Oh no! That was pretty fascinating. Like just the pictures themselves, like that. You touched a little bit on that when you were here last time, and those pictures were just even more so like that. That I don't just very vivid. The light beings, I guess, as you would refer to them, like just right there, right on top of everything.
What was she shooting it with? What was the
her
medium
phone?
she was using?
An iPhone. It's crazy. She has the ability to capture the dimensional images she sees with her technology. And as things move along, the last sequence of images that you're going to see, she instructed me to give her my phone. And when she took pictures of that event, which you'll see here shortly, she said, this way, no one will ever be able to say that I took those with my camera and or my phone, and then I sent them to you. No. They'll always be on your phone. So that was Friday. Saturday morning, we get up, and Mickey's girlfriend, Kim, and I are going to start to work on the website. And about 10 o'clock, phone rings. Oh, it's Kumu. And she's coming back. Now, no one knows why she's coming back. But when she gets there around noon, she's got just one student with her. She brought enough Chinese food to feed like 24 people. And these 3 or 4 protective cases. So we saw them bringing them up from the car, and I didn't know what they were. So while we were sitting around, she opens these cases up after she invites us to have some food. And let's cue that up, shall we?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, these are fascinating pictures. Like, and of course, you guys know that, if you're out there listening, I'm going to advise you to make sure to hop over on BitChute or Rumble or Odyssey or something so that you can get the visual of these pictures to understand, like, just wow. Like, it's hard to even explain.
This isn't really radio information. So the podcast will be interesting to hear, I promise. But what I'm going to show you is worth seeing.
And I wanted to ask,
videos.
with the phone itself, if she doesn't use anything else, it's literally just the device itself.
That's correct.
Because otherwise, when I see those images, the only thing I think of, because I've done similar effects, is with the prisms. But if she's using nothing and having that prismatic effect, honestly, it is very, very interesting. Because the only real way to do that, like if I take my phone and I take a prism, I would put the prism in front of the lens and it would create those aberrations. But to have those aberrations just happen, that is, and I've shot millions of pictures, so I can tell you that doesn't happen normally.
No,
it's not even easy unless you have something. But what is this?
This is the first of 3 ceremonial pipes I'm going to see. And first of all, who gets to see these things?
How old is
Rarely does anybody get to see. And who gets to hold it? Who gets to take photographs of it? Well, the answer was I did this day. And we're not just going to look at them, take pictures. We're going to use these. We won't understand until later that Mickey and I are going to be invited to ceremony. And she brought some, you can kind of see a bud off to the right there. Yeah, she brought some of the blondest buds I've seen in years from her Nana's estate, right? Plus, some little container that had almost a copper-colored powder in it. So when the time comes, she's going to pull out a screen, put one of these buds in it, dust it with a little bit of this stuff, and she's going to prepare us for a journey. So these, when I asked, how old are they? She said, 30,000 years old. They are all going to have different markings. We're going to see 3 different ceremonial pipes. None of these came from the same place. They won't look the same. And she was given coordinates on where to find these. She sent people out on her behalf and said, you may find other artifacts in the area. I don't care what you do with those. But these that I've asked you for, you need to bring these back to me. I took pictures of these because there was so much detail and so many symbols on it that I just told myself somewhere down the road, I want to understand what these things are. So I took pictures of them from every angle. Now, this is the weirdest shaped pipe I've ever seen, because where you can kind of see her hand is on the left-hand side, that's the mouthpiece. And on the other end, above the top, that's actually where, you would put the bowl. Yeah. So you can't really see the bowl when you're holding it. It's an odd pipe. This was some of the code from the top side of it.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. This was the opposite side. And if you can kind of look past the patina here.
What's that discoloration? What's the material like?
Just patina. I wish I could tell you what the material was, because this wasn't stone, wasn't bone.
Because it looks like stone.
It does look like stone, but it wasn't. I'm going to show you something else that also looked like stone. Not metal either. I don't know what this material is. I'm not familiar with it. I can't describe it.
Like a type of ceramic?
You would think so, but it's not that either. This was on the end. And this is going to become a theme, because every one of these pipes has that kind of ET look on some part of it.
Machine elves?
This was actually on the bottom side. And if you can kind of zoom in from wherever you are, if that's possible. I don't know that I've got
it on the full screen, so this will be good for people to see.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, that's good. Yes. That's great. Wow.
Oh my God, what is this?
See the alien face on the top and see the body on the bottom. Yeah, that's type 1. Enough to blow you away, right?
Yeah, that's.
And where was this found originally?
She didn't give us any details on where it's found. Look, many people have asked me, God, can I get in touch with her? She's not interested in that. She's not interested in bringing any attention to herself. Her work here has been to assist in clearing dark energies all her life. When you learn a little bit more about who she is, and we'll talk about that shortly, then you'll get a better idea of how she may have come across any of this.
Do you have
So
any
this
idea
was pipe number 2.
what the carvings,
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Bandit.
What the carvings or any of the the pictures, what do they mean?
I'm beginning to understand what some of these symbols are, and that was my whole purpose. But all of that has really only come to play in the last 2 months. I've heard star language, and that's a different discussion altogether. I've had some people send me messages using star language, and since an activation while I was in Shasta, I can understand all those star languages. Don't ask me why, but I understand what they're saying. So this was the next pipe. And I want to draw your attention. There's a symbol on here that I later on, when I start to study the symbols, I find at least one common symbol between this and the next pipe you're going to see. And see that one that kind of looks like a teepee? I'm not quite sure how else to describe it. Just keep that in your mind and remember what it looks like. So that was the side. And here's where these symbols, I want to understand what these are, what they represent, and what they mean on this pipe.
Any Native American collective close by that has anything close to proximity to this? Because I mean,
if it was going to be that
Native tribes that could have symbolism similar to this. That's why I'm curious about it.
If they're actually 30,000 years old, I could see where these might be.
It's hard to measure. I mean, it's hard to believe anything is 30,000 years old. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's like, how do you even come close to verifying it without actually doing some carbon-14 dating by an institution?
Yeah. Yep,
that's
correct.
The tricky part.
This is the back side of that.
That is.
Doesn't it look like a being presenting a smaller being to a spaceship above it?
Yeah, blast off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can tell you that's
go ahead.
Something I can tell you that's like especially you mentioned that copper tone. I was like, that sounds like dimethyltryptamine. Yeah. That was the copper tone. And people mentioned blasting off and meeting these beings. The beings that are written on that is beings people have seen.
Exactly. That had to come from somewhere. You're absolutely right. I took a close-up of this one because if you look closely at the top of this, it almost looks like one of those beings kicking back, having a smoke, right? That's how I interpret it. So here is what the top of this other pipe looks like. And remember that symbol that we looked at on the other pipe?
The TP, what you said?
Yeah.
So
wait a second.
This actually goes along with what I'm about to say. It's like
it looks like that one right there, doesn't it?
Yeah,
oh, look, it's the same one.
Going back to what Luis said, finding if there's anybody that reads like symbols and stuff, because regardless if, whatever you believe as far as like aliens coming from above or below, chances are they visited more than just people here in the United States.
Absolutely.
There are going to be a common, somebody's going to see a common symbol from this that's been used in another carving that maybe they've seen and that they know what it means. So
I've got to believe, Bandit, that back then
somebody might recognize maybe just one symbol on here, and that'll be a place to start.
Right. I don't disagree with that. But look, they used symbols to communicate back then. If you look closely at this one too, look at this end, you can see another alien face image in this side of this pipe, right?
And it feels like what? Because you said it doesn't feel like ceramic. It doesn't
they feel like they are stone. They're that heavy, but it's not stone.
Would you think possibly some form of crystal? And I know people's first thought when they think crystal is something see-through, but there are lots of crystal stones that aren't actually
People
Yeah,
make
they're-
crystal pipes.
Yeah,
It's
you know what
quite
I'm
possible
saying?
that's actually a really good idea, Jimbob. And, I'll sit with that for a while because it makes sense to me. Now, this piece looked more like, I'll call it a medallion because I don't know what else to call it. You can see the alien face at the bottom again, but it took me a while to understand this. And when I
That might be a
learned who
female.
she was, it's a hybrid giving birth.
It's a
Does
female.
it make sense? See it?
It looks like a snake coming out of them.
Uh-huh.
Or a
Look
reptile.
closer. You can kind of see an alien baby.
I see it. I
This
see it. Okay.
is the
I've seen it.
backside. So again, here is this being holding up this child for that spaceship above her.
What the hell is this?
That looks very mushroomy.
Crazy.
This is absolutely fascinating, though.
The spaceship looking thing above too.
Sacrificial. I mean,
I don't know what's
you-
going
you
on.
have- this is
Guys,
it's
I'm
not- yeah,
you're-
it's not-
you're a
you're not
few
the
people-
only type that have to submit a sacrifice. I mean, there's many different examples of human or any type of being sacrifices being made. So
I don't know that I would call this a sacrifice. I think this is just a presentation of
Presentation could be presentation to
yes.
for the beings from above.
Right. Yeah. Then we get to this. This is called a phoenix. And it looks like a weapon. Now, I'm not going to call it that, but I understand how it works is by sound and vibration. I would say it's made out of stone. But if it's as old as she says it was, it didn't have a nick or chip on it anywhere. I got some closer pictures of it so you can see, here's what it looks like when you're actually holding it. I love that thing. Yes, I was going to get to hold it in one hand, and you can kind of get the scale of what it is. Then we have this. This is a portable time machine. And if you look closely, you can see that there's some graphics on the bottom. This piece that kind of looks like the top of a turtle shell on the right-hand side, when you take it off, it's got like 4 little prongs that fit perfectly into this space. The piece above it that looks like it has an eye on it, yeah, that's removable. And when you take it out, it has another image on the backside. And when you remove it entirely, there's another image below that. Then that other piece that's on the left-hand side, that's the Tesla type power source for this. And it has to be perfectly balanced. Those are 2 separate pieces, and they just don't fit together tightly. It has to be balanced in order for this to work. And the thinking is that once this is in place and you get yourself in whatever state you want to be, you breathe your intention over it and you walk down whatever timeline you wish to go. I'll let you take that in for a little bit. Now, I'm not quite sure why I'm getting to see these. Maybe it's just for her to validate who she is and what she does and what she has access to. I really don't have the answer to that yet. Nonetheless, I got to see these things, use them, take pictures of them to be able to share later on and to understand what those codes are all about. When we get to the end of this day, on Mickey's property, it's kind of on a hill. The house is up on a top level, and then below, he's got a beautiful Andara spiral that's energetic as hell. And we're invited to go down there around 5 o'clock in the afternoon again. Oops. That's not where I wanted to go.
Did you get to touch the time machine thing? Like outside of the box? Did you?
Yeah,
use the
I had to
time
put
machine?
it together. And it was a bitch trying to get the thing to balance.
I was going to tell you guys one thing. The reason why they found these symbols also familiar is because the Taínos in the Caribbean design things similarly. Once you finish this, I'll show you.
That's okay. Go ahead. I'm just queuing up the pictures.
Yeah. Because it's interesting. I'm looking right now at more images because there's a few symbols that were like, the style is not that far off. I mean, here's even the language. Yeah.
So when Mickey and I get down to the spiral, she's already at the other end of it. And so we're kind of sitting on the side waiting for instructions, and she's beginning to take pictures. Now that is not the sun. And doesn't it look like I'm holding something? Well, in reality, I'm not holding a damn thing. But if you look really closely, it looks like I'm holding something. And if I was to guess, I thought, is it like a baby dinosaur?
That's exactly what I thought.
Uh-huh. She said, it's a serpent. Okay. That was just a little closer picture of it. Yeah. In this dimension, I'm not holding anything. And then this happened. What she explained is that this is Shiva rising to protect me for what I'm going to be faced with next. And this was one last dimensional picture she took. She said, notice how it looks like you're leaning? Yeah, every dimensional picture looks like that, but I'm standing up straight. Then we get to the middle of the spiral. She says, I want you and Mickey to stand behind. In the middle of the spiral is a huge Andara crystal that Mickey was gifted from the woman whose property it came from when she passed along. Mickey had put a white angel behind it. And when we took our places, Mickey said, can you feel the angel vibrating? Well, when I put my hand on top of it, I'll be damned. There's some energy that's moving here and you can feel it. So this is the first picture of light beings that she's invited in again. I thought when I first experienced that it was a sun blast, but the sun wasn't even coming from that direction. And it was so dense, I couldn't see through it. Now you can kind of see around it. And Mickey's girlfriend had been sitting on a bench at the end. And around the edge, I could see Kim, but there's no way I could see past that. And that. And that one's my favorite one.
The way it just like greatly changes shape. Like I understand what Luis was saying earlier about the prism like art form and taking pictures, and this like just being off of a camera phone is just like mind blowing.
Yeah,
I know.
The only other thing I can think of, and I'm just trying to find the answer, is like the lens is cracked on her phone. And and that's how she can create these images if you crack the lens. But if other phones are producing the same things, then it's like that's kind of like the strangest part of it all. But that's the only thing I can think of because it's consistent. There's some consistency, but there isn't, like, that's not consistent with other effects I've seen. Yeah, that weird circular thing that's happening in that one is particularly fascinating, especially at the bottom because again. Yeah, it's kind of even if she cracked the lens. Yeah, even if she cracked the lens, the aberrations are all over the place.
Right.
Because I'm trying to justify, it's like, what is this? Because anybody looking at this will first say, well, they're just playing around with the lens. Mm-hmm. That's what they'll say.
Of course they will, until they experience for themselves, and that's a whole different thing. Mm-hmm. So when she finished with these pictures, I wouldn't see these until later in the evening. And so after our time was done, she left again. And we had enough of a conversation before she left. And we were going to realize I was going to be in Shasta at the end of the month to present at a conference there. She was going to be there the week before and to meet some people. And we decided that we would find some time together there because, look, what I knew about her, I didn't know anything about her anymore, other than what we kind of passed while everybody else was, you know,
She becomes some mysterious lady showing you amazing artifacts and unexplainable photos. So, of course, you're just genuinely curious. I don't blame you.
Until later in the evening when I got to see these, I still had lots of questions. So she had planned to be in Shasta the week before this conference. She was going to arrive on Sunday and be there with the idea she was departing on Saturday. I was going to arrive on Wednesday, so certainly in there we were hoping to find some time to get together. And it wouldn't be until Friday that we would actually have a chance to sit down. So if you're familiar with it at all, we met up at Panther Meadows and just grabbed our chairs and sat over in a park space, and I got to know who she was. And that's when I began to hear about who she was. She's a hybrid. She's half human and half light being. And back when, in the early 50s, when apparently whatever government agency, whatever entity was aware and had ET phenomenon, whether they were craft and that technology, or whether they had some exotic DNA that they had extracted from bodies that they had found, they certainly understood that these beings had some capabilities that we did not. And of course, they're interested in exploring that. I can understand from a military perspective, which was theirs, they wanted to understand what this was. So back in the early 50s, they looked for volunteers that would be willing to participate in such a program where DNA would be crossed and we would see what would come of it. Her father was one of those guys that volunteered. Now, her mom was unaware of any of this. And it wasn't until 5 years old, people began to recognize she had capabilities that we did not have. She had connections to clearly higher realms that we didn't have. And she was put in a program with other kids that had similar capabilities. When she got to be 18, I think she left the program, and that's when she went out on her own. She, without question, is not interested in attention. She doesn't work for the government, but she's done work for the government. When they've come across some phenomenon that they couldn't understand what it was, they've called her in more than once. Sometimes she couldn't help them, but there were a few times when she could. So when we sat to get acquainted, I'll show you some of the things she brought out. Now, there's a lot of things I'm going to talk about that people are unfamiliar with. And I just asked you to just be open to it.
Bring it. That's the kind of stuff I like.
Good. Or the unknown.
You've come to the right group to say that.
Well, when you said I was going to fit in, yet here I am. So there's a few things I'm going to show you here first. All right. Yeah, let's start there.
And I'll say, no matter what, the designs of that past piece you showed us was definitely identical to the styles that you could find hundreds of years ago. So there's definitely a correlation. So either thousands or hundreds or whatever the scale, it is definitely a style that was present in the past here.
Yeah. When I saw those Indian-like representations, it made me think that those were Mayan. So I'm not sure if that's where they came from. I can't speak to it, but that's what resonates with me.
Because there's a lot of Mayan artifacts that were destroyed back in the day. So we only have a fraction of what existed thanks to the Spanish. Damn freaking Spanish conquistadors destroying everything. Please
One
continue.
day, I think that there's still a lot of stuff that's still under the ground that we have not discovered yet. That one day we will.
Possibly,
yes. Hey, there are entire civilizations that are reemerging from the Amazon rainforest due to deforestation, like stuff that had never even been seen by satellites.
America Before, if you want to learn more, that book is a great starting point for that. They go over those elements, and it's truly fascinating. The history of the Americas. Potentially, we had cities in the Amazon 40,000 years ago.
Oh,
of millions of people.
They've seen them, and like the smallest one that they have found so far, it was like population of like 50,000. But these things are reemerging because of deforestation. That they are massive civilizations, like huge metro areas.
Yeah. And it's crazy we're discovering it because we're destroying the garden we potentially built. Oops.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm holding here, she showed me 5 stones about the size of the one that's in the middle of my palm. The one that's at the top is a shard from it. And they were all in a plastic bag. And so there was some dust from this too. She explained to me that she had been in Middle Earth when she arrived on Sunday, and she brought these rocks back from it. To me, it looked like obsidian, but almost with like blue and green Andara flecks in it. There is a guy in Mount Shasta who has a crystal shop, and his name is Maziba. And if you ever go there, you need to stop in his shop because clearly Maziba is cosmically oriented. He is definitely from somewhere else. And if anyone was going to be able to validate it, and I'd met him through Mickey because they've known each other for a long time. I took it to Maziba and he put it under a light. And I said, somebody told me these came from Middle Earth. What can you tell me? After he looked at it, he said in his way, well, these originated in the Heart Nebula. The Heart Nebula is the constellation? Yeah, that. So I'm not sure how they passed through Middle Earth or where they came from, but that's where they came from originally. She gave me the shard to keep. Later that evening, I was staying with friends and we were all in an Airbnb. So I was showing them the shard and explaining what I had learned about it. And there's one of us among us, Kathy, who is into quantum hypnosis, and she's led lots of people on journeys. She's very connected to other things, has take people into sessions and can walk through them on their timelines and explain what she sees on the way back. Kathy had held that shard like everybody else. And at the end of the night, I'd taken it, put it back in the plastic bag, and put it in the same pocket where I carry an Andara of my own. It's in the shape of a healing wand. In fact, I got it from Kathy. Well, the next day when we got up, Kathy was ill. So ill that she wasn't getting out of bed for a while. And when the rest of us went off to the event, she stayed in bed for a little while longer. It wasn't until afternoon she felt better. When I reached in my pocket later in the day, and I pulled out that baggie that it was in and the Andara I carried. The Andara that I have it's a really dense, here, I'm going to show it to you really quick and we'll come back to this. It looks like that. Really a dense healing Andara. After it had spent time in my pocket, it looked like it was peppered on the inside. There were black dots everywhere on it. Well, it took us a little while to figure it out. There must have been some kind of dark energy that little thing had carried. And so both Kathy and the Andara did their job and they extracted it out. I had to take it to the headwaters to clear it. But when I did, that black stuff went away. So whether we transmuted that negative energy into light, that's in our opinion, what had taken place that day.
By chance, do you have any pictures before when it was like peppered?
I didn't take a picture of it, and I wish I did, because I'm the only one Kathy and I and the others that were there got to see what had happened. There's a lot of things I wish I would have taken pictures of along the way. That just wasn't one of them. Then we got to this, and we might as well take you in there and there. After she gave me the stone, that was when she was telling me about herself, her family, her father. And there was something else for me because I had questions of my own. Can you tell me what I'm doing here and why me? And there was, for about a month before this meeting, I had been on a tear to understand the Emerald Tablets. I like to learn lots of things, but I didn't really understand why I was such on a tear to learn that. And every time I heard a reference to Thoth, the old god of wisdom, it resonated like crazy with me. Well, I was certainly aware that Thoth intends to return, and he'll be back to assist Gaia through her ascension. It's been suggested that he's going to embody in some vessel here to do that. And I'm going to be told that that's what I'm being prepared for. So what's in this red container is Ethereum. And if you don't know anything about Ethereum, it's basically to cut short to it. And I read 42 pages of what I found on an Internet Archive server from a channeling in the mid-90s about what that stuff was. It's prima matra. It's creation material. This particular version of it is half Ethereum and half light. So whatever is inside of her and whatever is inside of the light beings you're going to see I'm introduced to is contained in this. So at 1/8 of a teaspoon a day, it's going to take me about 10 days to ceremony through this. So at the end of this evening, this is Friday, when we get finished, she invites me to a ceremony. There's an energetic pyramid on some private property there that she's done lots of ceremonies with. And there are 3 people that have come in from Miami to go through ceremony with her, help clear. And so she invited me to go along. This is that energetic pyramid.
That's cool.
In the corners, there's 4 chairs. And so I thought I'm a tag along. No, Lowell, you're going to sit in the 4th chair.
Is
and
that
before it began, she hands me this. Now, I'm not quite sure what it means, but it's certainly attractive. And I've got curiosities about Egypt, but nothing beyond that today. Well, during my part of the ceremony, and I get into that meditative state. And by the way, those artifacts I had mentioned to you earlier, she also brought that day. So in the middle of this, where that's Susan, where Susan was standing, she laid out a blanket, and all those artifacts that I showed you, she laid out there. She also had a few others that I didn't get to see before. One of them looked like a rock with almost like melted copper on it, like nothing I've ever seen. And then she had a crystal skull that was blue. She said it was on Dara. I'd have no way of validating what it was, but I, in fact, saw a blue crystal skull that night. We were not invited to touch any of those that night. And I wasn't going to ask about it. I understood that when I had an opportunity to see them and touch them before, that was special. And I wasn't going to say, well, I didn't get to touch any of these. It was just better for me to keep my mouth shut because she had not invited anybody but to look at it. She took them around to each person to show it to them, but nobody was handling them that day, which just, it meant something more to me than even what it was before. To make a long story short, what I saw in my meditation, my journey that evening, I saw myself lifting off the top of the Great Pyramid and exposing the halls of Amenti for all of humanity. Here's the time we're supposed to access it. And there are 2 of those tablets that have been forbidden previously that won't be forbidden this time. Take a breath. And so that's the end of that day. By the time we got back to where these people were staying, it was almost midnight. And she was due to leave the next morning. Well, she turned to me before I was saying goodbyes to everybody else that I'd met that night. And she said, there's one more ceremony I want you to participate in tomorrow. So if you just meet us here at noon, we'll all drive out together. And so I agreed to do that. Go ahead.
I take it you were still taking whatever was it, nope. What you had mentioned from the red vial or whatever earlier. Were you still doing that?
Not this day. Okay. No, this was straight up.
All right. Just curious.
Mm-hmm. Good question.
Separately, was that her in the past post in the previous image inside the pyramid? That's somebody else.
No, that's Susan. That's a friend of hers that travels with her.
Okay.
She's one of those colleagues.
Gotcha. No, that's good to know.
All right, let me queue up these other ones. Yeah. You having fun, guys?
Dude, this is like some of these artifacts, and then that that other crystal you brought up. I've heard rumors of those floating around and those existing, but they've been damn near mined out of existence from the areas that they were being found at, or the areas they were being found at. The government shut them down, and you can't get caught over there looking around for them anymore.
Well, where Mickey got them was on private land.
I mean, no. I mean, I'm not saying anything against them whatsoever.
No, I understand.
I just like I know a lot of these crystals are like crystals of legend in like the crystal world. They're damn hard to obtain because there is so few of them. Yeah.
Right. Now, the only other area we were aware of at the time was a spot in South Africa, but it was next to a diamond mine. No one's getting close to that. And the people that had the diamond mine had no idea what these Andaras really were. So on this Saturday, we're going to take a trip past Weed, north of Mount Shasta, out into an area where there's really nothing out there. It's an area where there's a Veterans Memorial Park. And within it, there's a beautiful sculpture garden. When you see that image on the top, it kind of looks like an alien to me, doesn't it? I don't know that that's what the artist had in mind, but that's what it reminded me of. So there were 4 vehicles. There was about a dozen people, including myself. And when you get to this space, you drive back to a circular area where after you park your cars, there's like 7 spines that go off in different directions and walk you out to different sculptures. I happen to know
this is just beautiful scenery in general. That.
Oh, that place is gorgeous. It's between 2 mountain ranges, and it's said that there's a lot of activity, activity there, because there's nothing else out there. It's wide open. It's easy for them to get to, and there's nothing else there out there for people to go. I took a picture of this right away because it struck my attention, and I liked it. Well, the other vehicle's empty, and now her team's getting kicked into gear. They've been given medicine. In terms of the medicine they were given was a combination of sage and lavender. So they're going to position themselves on like the 4 points of a compass, and they're going to ask whatever beings are there to allow us access and permission for this journey to take place. She's been here many times before. She knows the caretaker for the property and his wife, who was there that day. But when I got closer to looking at it, this sculpture is called Nurse. So she came over once she got everyone else situated, and I just opened up the back of my car. I got my chair out, and she said, I want you to go over by that statue over there. And it's called Nurse. She hands me a piece of paper and goes, this is your medicine. I want you to go over, sit in your chair, take this, and I'll come over for you in just a moment. So once she got everybody else situated, I'm sitting in my chair. There was a family that had kind of come through, and I just took this picture for scale. Because when I first sat in front of it and looked at it, I went, oh my God, that's the size of a Lemurian. That's an 8 or 9 foot being. This is the scale on what it looks like when you stand next to them. So I took a picture of myself next to it so you could see what I look like next to Alex and the rest of the guys I've known. Well, she begins to explain to me what is going to happen next. That she's going to show me how I'm going to orient myself because I'm going to lie underneath that statue. She said, I want you to get your intent right. If you have questions, I want you to get them in your mind on what it is that you want satisfied. And I had to. One of them had to do with this whole idea about me and Toad. And the other one, I had some questions about relationships between the emerald tablets and the crystal skulls, because there is a relationship between them. Then she said, here's where she said, I want you to give me your phone because I'm going to take pictures with yours. No one can ever say that these pictures were not taken with my phone and that I sent them to you in another way. We're going to proceed. So I'm over by the tree. She is over here on the other side, and she's going to begin to take pictures of what's going on. That was the first image. Can you clearly see the Casper-shaped light being? When I went into this intent, I had said, look, if all of this is what you're trying to tell me is true, and this is really what the universe has in mind for me, show me one light being and I'll buy it all. I'll do whatever it is that you want me to follow and do, I'll buy it all. Well, not one showed up, 4 showed up. She took a sequence of pictures about what was going on around me, and there would be a place where I'm going to have physical contact. If I'm going too quickly and you want to spend a little more time, just say so.
I think this series of pictures alone debunks the screen crack because like it moves. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
No, of course, and that's why I was asking if anybody's seeing if she's putting any objects in
Like
front
just
of the
wow,
lens.
just
if she's not
wow.
putting any objects in front of the lens,
Look at
then I
this.
have no idea what this is.
I
But
do
that's the tricky
implore
part.
again, everybody out there that's listening, take the time out of your day to come and watch this episode.
Yeah, because if she's not putting any crystals or anything in front of the glass, then
No, she's just holding my phone up, taking pictures, and I've got an iPhone like everybody else.
No, I mean you put a crystal in front of the lens.
Oh yeah, I understand. Now here is where I'm having physical contact. Now, first of all, while I'm laying there, I hear something just off to my right. And if I had to characterize it, I'd say it had to be the biggest hummingbird I've ever encountered. It had like a vibration that went, you know how they are when their wings flap. Well, I heard it for a while and then it went away. So I didn't know what else to make of it. I just kind of put it on my mind until it started again on my left-hand side. And now I'm starting to take in that if this was a critter, like a hummingbird, they don't stay in one place. They hover and they move. These were stationary. And then it stopped again. Then one more time, it began behind my head. And this time when I heard it, I could feel energy from the top of my head pass all the way through my body. And whatever light they engaged, whatever physical contact took place was palpable. You could feel it. And I'm still at a loss for the right way to describe what any of that was. This is 3:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday.
How did you feel, like in your mind at the time? Did you see anything?
Like I was just taking it in. Now, you see this green thing at the top of the screen?
Yes. What is this?
Yes. That is a ship spinning.
Holy shit.
Now, I put these in order by timestamp of when the pictures were taken.
Yeah.
So that happened before these last few photos.
That was clearly rotating, by the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's why she took so many of them, so you could see how their orientation changed on it.
And you were you just you two alone?
Yes.
I'm
Everyone else is off in that circular area over there, with the exception of the caretaker's wife. When we came in, she was sitting in a chair. And I didn't know who she was, but she was dressed in white. Apparently, she's been there before to assist, and she just holds space. It wouldn't be until after this was over, when I left, and most of the rest of them had left, she went over to Kumu and said, well, I'd really like to, meet Lowell. Would it be okay? I don't want to disturb him. She said, no, go over and talk to him. She said, well, no, I don't want to disturb him. So she and her husband came over, and I learned a few things. They're both sweet people. I learned that her husband was going through like stage 3 cancer. And I certainly had some Andara crystals with me. Definitely he'd benefit from healing modalities that they have because they carry consciousness. So I gave him one, and I can't tell you how grateful the guy was. But during that time when we were talking before I left, that's when I was talking about those 3 instances where I heard what I thought was hummingbirds. In the meantime, I looked all over the scrub brush. There's no animals in the area at all. And so when I mentioned it, she said, yeah, I heard them too. It was 3 times. I said, yeah, thanks for validating that, because I hadn't heard it until then.
I mean, that's
take a break for a moment.
No. I mean, that's a lot to take in, but sitting here looking at these pictures like firsthand, it's just fascinating and definitely, there's, as Luis has pointed out time and time again, like there's just things about these photos that good luck on trying to debunk that, because that's just an interest. Those are things that, I don't know, you don't see them happening on the regular, of course, but I mean, a lot of these cameras nowadays are at such, like high megapixels and so many frames per second that it doesn't surprise me that it would be able to catch just that at the right frame and stuff like that, and obviously there was such a presence around you that they were making themselves visible in whatever spectrum they were in at the moment through that lens, which I'm all about that kind of stuff. I believe there's, even right now with me, I don't doubt, even with you there, sir, even with Luis, like some sort of not visible to our eyes beings around us. I know Bandit has experiences too that he's even just like, whoa, like.
I love hearing you say that, Jimbob, because that's absolutely the truth. We are only aware of what's around us based on our vibration. When your vibration's higher, guess what? All of that stuff that's in that same realm that vibrates at the same level you do, you'll experience. And this was not meant to be just Lowell. Lowell's the first one, and he's going to teach the rest of you how we do it. When she handed me my phone back, she said, these are for your portfolio. And I didn't know what the hell that meant at the time. Well, I was going to learn what it meant later, that when the time came for me to tell my story, and people have extraordinary stories they share, mine will be different because here's the pictures.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's, in the modern times that we live in, that's the first thing that a lot of folks are looking for is like photographic proof of things. And sitting here just staring at these pictures myself on my screen, it's just like, wow, you would have to go through ridiculous amounts of anything to try and fake this. Like these are the spaceship thing really blew my mind. Like I'm not even going to. The lights were amazing and really neat to look at.
I'm going to pull them back up for you because
that spaceship was like that. Clearly, I could see in the different sequence of pictures something clearly rotating over the top. Like that was.
But that's the curiosity I have, and because in my mind, like again, so I want to understand all of it's true, but I also feel like it looks like somebody's physically holding a floating object, like, and doing this in front of, like, literally in the top front of the lens. Like, that's a floating piece, and they're just rotating it in front of the lens. This is what, again, how I can recreate that image. And I'll check my prisms, but that's the thing is, if there's other person that can see that she is not holding absolutely anything to the lens, then that's the tricky part. Because that's what I'm explaining. That's how I would comprehend it in relationship.
Sure. No. I understand that's how most folks would, but I mean, me sitting here just looking at that is clearly something rotating. Yeah. Like, you can definitely see the different aspects of it as it rotates, and it almost seems as if it has like a hexagonal shape to it, that you're looking at it almost sideways. Like it has edges coming into each other. Like, this is from my perspective anyway, and it's amazing how it just comes in, and then the sequence of pictures that you show after it is just the overabundance of light coming from the ground all around you and such. And it's just like, okay, whatever showed up in that ship is totally now hanging out beside you right now. Like, and the thing about it is that I have said for quite some time, many years now, that no, your aliens are like more kind of interdimensional, and they're different kinds of beings and stuff like that. Like, they're interdimensional beings that are right here with you right now, and they can make themselves visible if they so chose to. And I totally believe there's other forms and other alien type beings, I guess you would say, but I really believe, like, this, I've seen this kind of belief and talk and different kind of things in other religions, I guess, as far as light beings. And, like, to me, and this is just me, you guys are always welcome to take it however you want to take it, but to me, this almost looks like just hardcore proof of the existence of interdimensional beings of some sort, interdimensional something going on here.
I'm glad. It's good to hear you're just open enough to consider it. Look, these aren't going to resonate with everybody, and they're not meant to. But the ones that do resonate with it, they're meant for you. And again, when I say that I'm not supposed to be the only one, I'm the first one. And if you believe the shift is as imminent as it is, which I believe, we're getting prepared to be able to have contact with these interdimensional experiences that are around us now. These benevolent beings, these are six-dimensional, they were elders that showed
Bring
up.
It, because I got some questions, interdimensional beings, and this vibrational sound is going out to all of you all across everywhere. Like, bring it, because I have got some questions.
What are fairies?
Since I've done this, I've taken pictures back in Mickey's place, back behind his place. He's got a forest that's beautiful. And I've been able to capture some fairies, if you want to see them, with my camera back there, now that I'm in a place where I can experience things in different dimensions. Now, when people look at it, at first I wondered whether I had the ability to hold the phone and take those pictures. Well, I proved it to myself. And yes, I could. They look like green and blue lights, and they were not sun flares.
Exactly, and those are the fascinating phenomenons that are much harder to dismiss.
I will 100% back up fairies and their existence, and don't ever take the gift they leave, because it's a trap. Just don't ever take the gift they leave, because it's a trap. Like, you can leave them gifts, but don't take their gifts back, because they'll leave you things and they expect something in return if they leave you. And I know I sound like a nut job, but that's okay. But they will leave you things and expect you to take them and expect you to leave something in return. And if you don't leave something in return, they are going to be mischievous towards you in ways that you're going to be like, oh, what the hell? This is annoying as hell. And I'm telling you, it's fairies, bro. Fairies are 100%. Like, I really believe that you can see things on a different perspective when you're younger. Like when children are at a certain right there. That's
7 years. Up to 7 years old, I see this. I see it right there.
That's prior to 7 years old. I ever took.
prior to 7 years old, you have
You can see all this with the naked eye.
In your
There it is.
your
Oh
body.
man, I see it. Both.
That's
one up and one down.
That's pretty. That's a beautiful day too.
There's two.
That's a magical
huge
day
trees
altogether.
On Mickey's property. One's a grandmother tree. It's this one. And when I took a picture of it, that light was coming from inside the tree, not outside the tree. This cavity, the space is huge.
I imagine.
Believe me, this is going to sound like it's really crazy, but Mickey knows that there's a white owl that lives inside this tree. I know it sounds fairy tale-ish. It's the enchanted forest. What do you expect to see?
I mean, white owls are prominent in your region of the United States.
Yes.
That's cool.
So the journey
and owls are huge. I'm
continues.
sorry to interrupt, just to burst in, but I was owls. Just to add to your point there, Luis. I don't know how many people have actually seen owls face to face, but I want you to know,
massive, man,
that they are huge, and they will. I mean, owls aren't little bitty birds. Like I don't know where they put in our head that owls were smaller than they are, but owls will terrify the crap out of you and sneak up on you because you can't hear them flap.
Like this size to like the average is like this size.
No,
they get
barn owls, bro. Barn
owls
they get
small,
much bigger, right. Of course. There's
and
a few.
Have you seen how long their legs are?
Oh, talons. I mean, those talons are...
No, their legs, period.
Oh, yes.
Under all of those feathers, they have some of the longest legs in the bird family. It is ridiculous.
And
they're good
silent.
for reaching. Yep.
Yeah.
They're stealthy killers.
Sorry for the tangent. Just owls.
No. One last thing. Do you know why they can rotate their head 280 degrees?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Only because their eyes are not round. Their eyes are actually shaped like a tube inside their head.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the light gathering, it allows that they can see just a shade under as good at night as they can during the day, because their ability of their eyes to gather light. Their eyes don't move inside their skull. Their skulls move. If you watch, their eyes don't move inside their head.
Interesting. I mean, we've considered them beings of high intellect and like we have worshipped them from multiple.
I think
so. It's interesting that
ravens
too.
And something else. They seem to be like the bearer of good news, or they'll carry...
ravens are messengers. That's right.
Well, owls too. They carry something with them in the spiritual world, or
wisdom,
like interdimensional or whatever. Wisdom or whatever.
Where we connected to them, like that.
They're one of those birds or animals or anything. They're one of the few that actually symbolize something in another dimension or another world. And no, it has nothing to do with Harry Potter, man.
No, that came way before Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Hundreds of years.
Yeah.
I mean, the Greeks were idle thousands of years ago. Like thousands of years ago. Harry Potter is just Star Wars.
Well, somebody will reference, oh, you got that info off of Harry Potter. No, man, this goes beyond...
I mean, those are usually 20-year-olds that have not read.
but see, I believe that all of that stuff has a sense of predictive programming in it and puts those ideas out there. And if you're not keen to that message, then it's kind of the same with the stuff that we're talking about tonight. Like if you're not kind of keen to the message, a lot of it's going to go over your head, and or you're gonna think that it's just you're gonna think that Lowell and me are having such a great conversation because we're both just completely out of our damn mind, and that's okay. I want you to think I am, and double check all this crazy stuff we're talking about, because there's a lot of these things that he's talking about that you can actually dig around and find things about the crystals that he's discussing and these light beings and stuff like that. Like this isn't new information, at least from my perspective. This isn't new information. This is just someone else actually having the
require you to do some
coming
digging,
forward.
though.
But
it's going to require more than Wikipedia.
Oh,
Right.
absolutely, more than Wikipedia. Absolutely, you're gonna have to get the Wayback Machine out for
Well,
sure.
there's also there's certain topics you can go into academic websites and really dig deep into the books, because that's you can find a lot
Well,
more
when you
information.
start getting into stuff like talking about finding your answers from source and accessing the Akashic records, or however you want to say it, because I say it wrong all the time. A lot of times I lose people, like, because they're just like, wait a minute, what kind of batshit nonsense is Jimbob talking about? And it's just like, that's okay, you guys. I'll still love you, and one day I hope you understand this conversation and come back to this message and maybe get it.
I mean,
Because
look,
there's
Well,
so many
discussions
things
like this are the ones that are going to get them to come back.
it can trigger.
Because now it's going to sound like it is a trigger, and it's meant to be. It's not going to trigger everybody, but it's not meant to.
That's right.
There are those that are never going to get it, and we're not going to spend any more time trying to talk them into it, because that's not what I'm here to do.
That's right.
I'm not here to try and encourage you to understand what I understand. You got to use your own discernment, come to your own conclusions. All I'm telling you is what I know my truth is, and here it is. And not only truth, somebody has made it possible for that to have been photographed.
And
you can tear the photographs apart all you want. That's up to you. But again, you got to come to your own conclusions.
And who is anyone else on this planet to try and deny your truth? Like, that's something I try to explain to people all the time. Like, I'm big at taking in information from any angle, regardless of if others find it off, or if others find it fact, or if others have never even heard about it. Like, I just like taking in the information, because it's someone else's experience here. Like, you had this firsthand experience, and do I believe others have had this firsthand experience? Absolutely. And I think sitting here talking about this stuff will hopefully inspire them to come out from wherever they're hiding and actually talk about this kind of stuff. Because, man, maybe the more we talk about it, maybe the more these light beings will show up in everyday life. You know what I mean? Like, that'd be pretty awesome. I'd be all right with going back to the level of being able to see those things and not just my kids talking to them.
Yeah, they're absolutely here for that very purpose, and they understand how close we are. Now, before we finish, and I know we're going on like we can. Kumu had sent me a voicemail that was about 8 minutes long. I put it on my YouTube channel so everybody can see that, because I still want to understand, what is all this about? Yeah. Well, she went on in that to explain we're getting enhanced light through the sun now. And that enhanced light is here and coming for a purpose. That there are pieces of it that were meant for humanity, but there were portions of the light that even these light beings are helping us adjust to, and however we need to acclimate to it, that's what they're here to do. This is part and parcel of how our physicality is going to change. That light is what's going to turn us, these carbon-based bodies, into crystalline. That's what she was talking about. So when I tried to what the hell is all this light stuff about? When I stopped for a moment after all this had happened, then it occurred to me those ceremonies on that Friday and that Saturday when those light beings were in the plants and whatnot, that had to have been some type of a validation. Because had I not met that criteria on Friday with whatever contact I had, she wouldn't have come back Saturday. Why? There'd have been no reason for her to come back Saturday. But apparently whatever condition I need to satisfy was done on Friday, because here she came back Saturday with all the things I told you about in the picture she took.
I guess as someone looking in, I see that, you were willing and ready to take this adventure. You were ready to set sail anywhere. You know what I'm saying? You're like, you were willing. And people, I don't know, people are out here and they don't like to believe in magic and vampires and werewolves and fairies and all kinds of things like that. And I'm just like, no, you need to pause for a minute and actually take all of these things into consideration, because the idea comes from somewhere. Bandit likes to point this out a lot too, whether it be lore or what we read as myth and lore. Like, at some point in time in human history, that was someone else's truth, just like this is your truth. And for you to deny that that was their truth, is ridiculous. And you should actually take a lot of these things into some sort of consideration, whether it be the puzzle piece that you're missing, or even if all of this kind of stuff is just brand new to you and you're just like, what on earth are these guys going on about? Like, there is information about all of this stuff out there. Of course, I'll definitely share the stuff that I have and all of Lowell's pages. You guys don't even have to hesitate on that. Like, that's
I sent you some pages.
You did. I actually have them pulled up.
Because the first one shows petroglyphs that were made you can find this in a specific part of Puerto Rico, beautiful waterfall area, leads you to waterfall area. It's gorgeous. So play that at second 30 forward, like you're going to start. So play that, turn off sound, and then at 30 seconds forward, you'll start seeing it. So this beautiful area, this is actually an IT, but this is also present in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
So Caribbean, because there's something, I literally look like something exactly like that in Puerto Rico, but I realize now the Puerto Rican one, the gap is much bigger. But these petroglyphs, because the Taínos existed in what is La Hispaniola, which is Haiti and Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. And then they're going to show you more up close. And there, I also put up links. So you see the style in relationship to what I was saying before, that there's a particular old style, and there's other links there of a pipe that also has an alien and another pipe that also has an alien. One is 2,000 years old. They wrote 900 to 100 BC. But you can check out the other links, the Antique Navigator.
Well,
evidently, at least those were from Jalisco, found in the Jalisco area in Mexico.
Oh, okay. See, what I find interesting about this is that this is more of that different parts of the world where
exactly,
some similar things are existing. So in some form or another, these people had to either have contact with each other or had contact with the same being.
Look at that! Look at those eyes!
Look at those eyes!
And
look at this one. This one right here was pretty.
This is a pipe. So this one, because I was looking, let me look for alien pipes to see what I find, and then bada bing! Look at that face. And just try to zoom in a bit, and you're gonna see some interesting points of it. So, I at least this one is. I forgot if it's dated. They mentioned the date for that one. But again, from the Americas. So who knows where that pipe came from, but definitely fascinating. No matter what the age, it's definitely a fascinating looking piece that I hope they one day give access for a museum to review, because I'm sure that people would follow the chain of command. And what they can usually do is they can research it with them present in the room exclusively. That way, if that's another way to validate herself. Have people and she needs to be present with the thing in the room. That's fine. Some people will do that. They'll take the extra steps to be with her as they're doing research with the piece.
Yeah, she's not interested. She could care less whether anybody else really believes her. She is in the same place you are at. I'm at Jimbob, Bandit. We have come to our own conclusions based through our experiences. And whether or not somebody gets
the messaging.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, some of that, that
it's more of the symbolism to find out. It's is connected to a society. So or putting it on the internet, which it was now. Some people,
here we go.
I do.
Well,
find
the internet might figure it out.
I do find it fascinating though that it's more of this ancient artwork and ancient sculpting that depicts alien looking beings, you know, like just
how
like
can you not say there hasn't been influence when you see those markings
Yes.
on many things?
It's everywhere.
You really can't.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, right.
It's in old cave paintings.
I
Yes.
love petroglyphs. I go looking for them just like you do. There's some wonderful ones that were more Indian and not, you know, the types we're talking about that are in Arizona that I found. There's some in Nevada and Valley of the Fire. There are tons of petroglyphs there. I like to find them to see, you know, who did this. It just makes your mind wander. How long has it been here, and who did it, and how did it last this long?
No, the weirdest part is you imagine some of these petroglyphs are like Johnny loves Ivy. It's like, or like Garth sucks ass forever. And it's like 5,000 years later. It's like, Garth sucks ass? Okay.
There was a thing on Twitter where somebody, it went way out of control with the quote tweets and being retweeted. But if you had the ability to travel back in time 10,000 years or something and write 4 words on a cave wall that would guaranteed to be found by
Bitcoin 2011,
what would you write? And it went absolutely out of control about what these people were writing.
dad joke.
Or no, but 4 words, bro. You
only get 4 words.
You got to be creative
who
with
touched
those words.
The thermostat? Who touched the thermostat? You know, it's
Hi, hungry. I'm dad.
But no, sorry to get way off into
no. I mean, but and you know,
it's we message it into time. It's a message.
It is a message to time. That's the thing. Like I try to explain to people even now that the language that you and I speak in 1,000 years, they're going to be trying to decipher it and talk about what the hell are these weirdos on the screen talking about, because it don't make a lick of sense.
So no, anybody research Old English. Just look up Old English
a guy on TikTok
and try to read it. Try to read Old English.
I follow a guy that specializes in the ancient languages. He's a young kid.
I think I've seen what you're talking about.
He's a polyglot.
Yeah, I think I
redhead,
about. He's
real.
Great.
He's red hair.
I'm gonna find.
He straight up. The amount of old languages he knows and speaks is mind numbing. What he understands and what he can read, and speak. What everybody thinks that they spoke, you know, even just 1,000, 2,000 years ago, English wise, is not
unintelligible to what we understand as English.
Exactly.
We would understand like a word here or there, but first of all, the whole lexicon is based off a class of objects that you don't generally utilize. So that's part one. The Chinese, for example, when they speak of an object, they don't speak of an object like you would normally, or even genders the way you would think about it normally.
Do you guys think emojis are basically us going back to like
hieroglyphs? Yes, 100%.
I do. Absolutely.
100% emojis are hieroglyphs.
A way dumbed down version of hieroglyphs.
A digital
version of hieroglyphs.
Dumb digital version of
really
hieroglyphs. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
No doubt.
You know what it means when you look at it. You don't need to utter a word.
That's true. I use them all the time.
Just in my lifetime.
Imagine when we start using memes to create just whole sentences. The whole the whole book is written. That's a good book.
You don't already do that in group chats? We have whole conversation in memes.
We can have a whole conversation with GIFs and memes. In just the 40 years I have been 41 years I have been on the planet, you can actually see the dumbing down of the English language right now.
Or is it the evolving of it?
It's in an evolution. I mean, it could be a mixed bag.
Up, dude.
It could be a mixed bag.
Evolving.
Bandit.
This
could be a mixed bag.
Evolving.
Well, that's the thing about language. That's what they said probably 150 years ago when we started expanding into the Americas and people started expanding on the language. So I can tell you the same thing.
Is it de-evolving, or are we making it simpler?
Do you think the English from England didn't think we were devolving English? Think about it. Didn't you think that
English.
those Americans,
Oh, yeah.
they're fucking up our English.
Oh, dude, people, I get it constantly because I have
years ago.
I butcher things when I try to pronounce it, and a lot of times I do it on purpose, even because why not? The English language is like 7 languages dressed up as one in a trench coat, pretending to be 2. Like,
I'll give you one that's misunderstood. Axe. So when people say axe, that means like ask. That is really old. I thought it was something that was done in like a few places. No,
yeet's really old too.
That is like, I think, over 200 years old. And I was like, oh, God dang, I was so wrong.
During the American Revolution, they were shouting yeet.
Really? Yeet is that old too?
Why don't you?
See, that's another example. We think it's like colloquial and it's old as hell.
Like you need to look up like how long, like what we would consider 4-letter expletives, how long those have been around. Not
as long as people think they are. Like, I mean, you can source most of them. And that's another thing that I do like to point out is what people consider bad words today probably weren't bad words at one point in time and might not be bad words.
I mean, they're not bad words in another country. Go to Australia and I can say every other word and it's not a bad word over there.
Right.
They're charged with your intent.
Exactly.
That's right.
They're charged with intent. And that's the problem we have with the censorship of words. Is irregardless that person wrote a disgusting thing and nobody should respect what they wrote. The reason they wrote freedom of speech was because sometimes you will state something controversial and that something controversial needs to be stated for the idea of who they represent to be expressed, for you to listen, regardless of how disgusting, evil, degenerate, and stupid it could be. You have to allow them to say it.
You are correct.
You don't need to listen. That's the point. You don't need to listen. You don't need to allow it to be sold in stores if you don't want to. Your store can say, any store has the right to say no to a book, no to knowledge. And that's the way we should do it. It's by choice. Like, this person is taking the choice, not by an over force saying, no, you cannot do this. Like, look at the substances that we ban. We ban substances. We're now decriminalizing psychedelic mushrooms. Now they're decriminalizing ketamine. Now they're decriminalizing ibogaine and LSD for therapeutics and dimethyltryptamine and ayahuasca. Now it's being thought as, oh my God, this is very healing. This can bring people a lot of internal peace. It can help people with understanding themselves in ways they couldn't fathom to understand themselves. Yes, they should all be respected and they should all be treated with care, because these things, certain people that are sensitive in certain ways, they're drive them over the edge.
They're tools,
but they're to be taken carefully. They're not toys. What I'm saying is they're not toys.
It's not recreational whatsoever.
They're to assist you.
They're to assist you. And the thing is, I told people, it's like, use this in a therapeutic environment, and it is incredibly powerful to you.
I've had a wild idea for years. I've had a wild idea for years, and people laugh at me for it. But I've always been like, no, I think for your 18th birthday, you should be handed one of those of your choice and dropped off in your paradise, whether it be a walk through the woods, a walk through the desert, hanging out at the beach, whatever it is. And I don't want to hear from you until you know who the fuck you are. Because instead of just throwing kids to the system, to either go to college, go to work, or go to the military, like, why not give them a chance to find themselves?
I heard it suggested, I think it took place in England, it was a while ago, that there was a group that wanted every politician to undergo ayahuasca.
Oh my God. That would be so amazing. All of them. Just to imagine how many of them that would.
But it might kill the reptiles.
Would speak the truth.
The next day they're like, "I am sorry."
Get it on video. They need to get it on video too. Ask them questions and get it on video.
You should force all members of Congress to do ayahuasca twice in a 2-day period, and then see what happens. Like, how many of them flip? I mean, there's sociopaths that won't really get affected, and there's people that will do nothing to them, because this is the scale of the problem. Is some people then have the problem, I didn't see anything, I didn't feel anything, I did feel something, but not everybody gets
Because
a certain
they're part
experience.
of the Matrix, bro. They're
Also, there's
listen,
people
bro.
with aphantasia, which is a whole different thing.
It's because they're NPCs and they're part of the Matrix. That's why they didn't feel anything, bro.
I mean, that is terrifying to think.
That is
indirectly
totally
speaking.
like, yeah.
But if something like that were to be true, which is horrifically terrifying to even contemplate,
Well,
that.
because NPCs don't have souls, so
Exactly.
yeah, they wouldn't be able to react anyway.
Hey,
But
Free Guy had
Terrifying,
one.
man. That's terrifying to think.
Yeah,
I mean, yes, it's terrifying, but there's some instances, man, that
yes.
I hope it's an NPC. I hope it's an NPC. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really hope it's an NPC.
Think about this. Have you ever seen your neighbors take in groceries from the store?
Yeah,
No.
I have.
Well, you live in an apartment building. Like your neighbors are.
I don't live in an apartment building. I would take this camera out and show you, but no,
Your neighbors
I
are like just outside of this wall.
No, I mean, I walk out and I'm in the street. Like my door leads directly to the street, so I do see them I see their cycles. It's actually fascinating that I walk out. I literally sometimes just walk outside the exact same moment as somebody's that I know is passing by, and it's gone to the point of weird. Like my subconscious knows when to go, knows to when out. Right? Oh no, I've had that feeling. That's the thing
it's terrifying, man. Like you get the feeling that like everything is on a repeat. Like you could stand outside and watch the same car go by a few times.
It happened to me the other day, the same car twice. Once going one way, man. 4 hours later. So I go out twice in one day. One time. One Corvette passed by, then a second Corvette, but this second Corvette is like this disgusting weird ass blue, and then it just passes going down. We'll come in 4 hours later. I walk outside for no reason. I see the exact same car going in the opposite direction. The only 3 times I only went out 3 times that day out the door, and the 2 of them I saw the same car.
You know, there's no coincidences. I've come to understand, but I don't know what the connection is between the Corvettes.
Glitches in the Matrix. It's glitches in the Matrix. You guys ever been sitting at a red light and like look around for a minute and see, and maybe not you, Luis, but like I know Bandit will relate here. You'll see like the same car, one right after the other, like identical car.
I've seen it. No, the same brand.
Here it's trucks, pickup trucks.
Trucks, cars, minivans. I've seen all the above.
Yeah.
Aligned perfectly. I mean, sometimes they're together. I've realized that.
Yeah, and I'm just like, whoa.
What's worse than that though? Okay, because we can.
Or things stuck in the air.
What's worse than that is the amount of people that dress, act, and behave, and have the similar mannerisms out in public, like
because that's the indoctrination. No, that's more indoctrination. At the end of the day, you have a lot of indoctrination, and somebody was just saying recently.
Okay, there's a guy that
I don't think it's indoctrination. I think it's like that is.
Maybe
it's indoctrination. But I mean, but it's the way.
It's the rules. You follow the rules. Everybody looks the same.
Similar.
Have you ever broke the rules?
Like programming. Yeah, like programming.
I go into the elevators and face the wall.
Yeah, and you've got these people. They dress the same. They act the same. They have the same.
There was an experiment done with that too.
Yeah,
the guy stayed in the elevator, and it forces people to look at the other way.
I have found
form a line outside of a random door and see if people get behind you.
Okay, no, I have found a weird way, and this is so wild. I have found a weird way.
Subject.
I know, and it is, but it's still the same at the same time. But I have found a weird way to actually break that little matrix chain when you see things like that. Okay, and this is the showing. Okay, you're basically showing out in public. Okay, because all this stuff going on around you is just like the Truman Show. Like you're sitting there talking, Bandit, and if you want to prove that about the mannerisms and the fact that sometimes you're surrounded by NPCs, be weird as fuck. Like, and I have found a secret. I'm telling you.
Yeah, that'll do it.
It breaks the matrix code so much because everybody, like you you definitely show that like the NPCs are around you, because it just fucks the system up, and everybody's just like, wait a minute, what is this walking past me?
Well,
And
that's
it's
also like peacocking, indirectly speaking.
maybe, but
That
like,
is a trait. That is a trait of humans, definitely. You
I
can see
mean,
it
but
in
it
our
is just a
fashion
me
through
thing.
time.
Like, I totally love to have my wild socks. Like, you can,
Mm,
I go to work every day dressed like
be you.
this.
Be comfy. I don't know
Like,
how those boots are comfortable, but hey, if those boots are comfy.
and I love, and listen, I love knee high or higher socks, because I just like long socks. It's just always been a thing of mine. And I've actually been made fun of for years, and that's why I just made them worse by making them bright. Like, I mean, I get the brightest ones I can find
I
and
would
run
have said
around with
like,
them.
oh, look there he goes. Here comes the pirate.
And today they
Let
do
you
just
be
so
the
happen to
pirate.
have, they do just so happen to have anchors on them today. Like, that was unplanned. It just falls into place, I guess, when on the days that I like to have them different. I don't know. I've probably got 20, 30 different pairs of socks that are just wild as hell, and you never know which pair I'm pulling out in the morning because it's dark.
But I wanted to ask, Lo, how do you feel is the way people will come to start to understand an introduction to such a thing? Because there's so many levels to this, right? So what level can people start from in order to evolve into understanding this space better?
That's a really good question. And I wish I had a better answer than the one I'm going to give you. But I will say this. For whatever reason, over the last few weeks, I've heard from more people than all the rest of the time that this has been going on. From the first inception, it just looks like more people are being triggered. Those images that you taught me how to do, and I put a Telos out there today.
I saw some hundreds, dude. Wow.
Hundreds of responses back.
Because you only made a few, and the few you made, could you show them? You like to show them? Are you open to showing them?
I'm okay with that. Those were the ones we seen in email were amazing.
No.
Luis out here inspiring people with his awesome work.
Wanted to see what he did. I was like, oh. I found you. I found you inside of the system. I was like, oh, that's you. I found you because I knew, like, I saw the images. I instantly thought, this is him.
Luis, I added a longtime friend to that AI generating thing too, because he's getting into it as well. But like me and him go way back, like band jumping and doing roadie stuff and things like that, and working in a movie theater together. And I had to get him in there with you, so he did get added. Wow.
So I keyworded inside Middle Earth, daylight. I was looking for a white pyramid, and then, small temples. This was kind of the first shot that came out. But yeah, when people saw this today, they went, holy cat, who's the artist? I said, I learned how to work a program, and this is what comes up. Then this was the one that actually, the whole white middle temple in Telos was kind of triggered. It was bigger than what I had in mind, but you can't manipulate that AI program. There's only degrees. You can go back and you can maybe repurpose or try and get a different version or start with different keywords. But I practiced with it for a while. This was the one everyone seems to like.
That is pretty wild looking. It's almost like it is the little crystal city with the giant pyramid in the middle.
Then I got into thinking, where would Thoth sit? Well, that was one more Middle Earth, which was amazing.
That looks like,
and then I came up with that
ancient hut. Oh, this is insane.
That one is the Hall of the Seven Lords from the Emerald Tablets. This is Thoth's chamber in the Hall of Amenti. This is that's the one in Amenti. The one before that was his new throne room that he's going to be sporting in Mt Shasta. But yeah, they're gorgeous, aren't they?
And the fun part is,
thanks, Luis.
You got to some of these pretty quickly. So, because I'm looking at that one you did, you got to these in like 2 generations. So I couldn't imagine if you play around with it further, keep forcing it like this one.
Okay.
Go back and keep asking variations. Just like keep playing with it. Yeah. And just let it roll, because this is a representation of the expressed knowledge based off certain data sets, right? Now,
Yes.
the reason I simply say that in that way is it's still an interesting exercise into discovery, is because you're analyzing and you're looking into what the culture of the human race has encompassed in a small fraction. That's a small sample. Their sample size is not that big. There's another one called there's another one that's coming up that will be gigantic, and 163 billion points of reference. So we're getting to the point that, for example, the DALL-E system, it's 500 dimensional. So it's reading it through 500 dimensions of comparison. And that's how it's interpreting the data.
I want to go back to the first thing that you asked me on how we would expect people to respond to these kind of things. And there were a number of those that saw what I was trying to look, guys. I've been trying to think of a way to come up with an illustration so I can show you what I thought I saw in Telos. And when I put them out there, people that, when they saw the word Telos or when they saw the word Lemuria in the title, then the picture triggered something inside of them, because they also said, I didn't know anything about that word before I saw it today, but it triggered something in me. That's the way it's going to happen.
Now, did any of those pictures trigger anything with you? Like, is any of those, how close are those photos to what you believe you've seen with your eyes?
The last one that would tell us, the last one that I liked, and I didn't pull it up again. That was the one that I liked the best after many, updates and many versions. That was the one that resonated the most. But I'll tell you, the one that triggered me the most was the one that Luis did, and he sent me, because that idea of the light path to the Hall of Amenti, that was spot on in my mind and what I would think it would look like.
I love that image too.
I did too, dude. It's beautiful. And the remarks I got on that were fabulous too. So thank you again for sharing it with me. That was meaningful.
But see, I mean, it's this goes back into the no coincidence. Like he was able to aid you in bringing something from your mind to reality with the help of these AI art generators. Like, yeah, I think they're pretty awesome. I have not played with them near as much as I should, but like Luis, he's got a knack for it. Like there was even
he does.
There was a whole thing that went on the other week where we come across some pictures and it was like, these are claimed to be from somewhere. So I sent them to Luis and was like, hey, Luis, do you think these are real or do you think they're AI generated? And he used the AI generator and sent me back almost identical pictures. And I was just like, okay, sweet. I was like, at least he can help me decipher if this is somebody sending me BS or, and no offense, like it wasn't like they were intentionally sending me anything bad. It's just there's so many photos out there nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Like it is getting hard to decipher real from these AI generated things.
This is the scary part that's coming. In 5 years, most people are not going to be able to tell what's real or fake anymore.
Well, there's already
this is like
completely
happening.
Like fake. I've seen instances where people have made a complete fake TikTok account.
You
should show the girl. You should show that one.
Yeah, there was the girl that created the guy that was
from DALL-E.
From a meld of
DALL-E and
two famous people, meshed them together, and then used her own voice and played with the
voice
sound of it, the voice, and made it into a male voice, and then totally made up profile information, and then made videos with this character. Completely made up.
I'm looking.
Guaranteed. I mean, Twitter is full of fake profiles. Facebook is full of fake profiles, and TikTok is even
there
is
a website. You guys ever been to this website? This person's not real. I think it's this person's not real.
Yes, I do know about this person's not real.
It's not real.
That actually is something
if
I
you've
do
never
have
explored. I believe it's so. This person does not exist. Sorry, is called This Person Does Not Exist. So you can go to this website, And every time you're going to refresh, it's going to give you another person that doesn't exist. Sometimes it looks good. Sometimes it looks like Jink. This is all based off of the original DALL-E VQGang project that was started around 2015. So we've gone from really garbage stuff to incredible stuff. And this is more on the what the website is, how they do and what they're doing. So that person doesn't exist.
Oh.
This is how they create a lot of fake profiles on Facebook and such. And the thing is, one of the reasons DALL-E is not accepting faces probably is to not support this.
It's
but
being
other
slow on
systems will be able
purpose.
to. You can just go to the main page and it's not gonna.
I thought that's where it was.
Oh, this is no. This with the spaces, that's not the right. That's not the same. That's like the breakdown explanation of the page.
Ah.
Just right. This person does not exist. Huh. The second link. Go to the second link.
Got you.
If you saw in the search.
Oh, there it is.
Link,
I got it.
There it is.
I just clicked your link instead.
So these people are not real. And just refresh, and it'll be a new person. And it's probably going to improve with time if they've been improving the script. So that's probably why there's no artifacts in the eyes anymore. But there were artifacts in the eyes that make them look fake sometimes. The ears, they sometimes don't get the ears right. But they are getting the ears right now. Yep.
Yeah.
They're getting much better. Fudge. See the reflection in his eye? That was kind of an artifact. But that's fixable in Photoshop in 2 seconds. You can fix that. Look at that. Just look at that. She has some acne. Like, this is freaky stuff.
Is that Greta Thunberg's little sister?
Hey, look, time to move to the next dimension.
I mean,
right?
What incredible.
That looks like a politician.
Right. And that's the scientist that's working for the politician to write fake news.
Yep.
Believe the science.
and this chick claims she's Indian.
Oh, you should say that one. It's like you can meme a person that doesn't exist. Hey, you're not insulting anybody.
Maybe I won't get in trouble.
Yeah, you can't get in trouble. This person doesn't exist.
This person doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I can make all the memes I want to out of them.
Yeah. And you can download these images too. They let you download them easily.
This is pretty creepy because there is even simple apps nowadays that you can take just the still photograph and make it sing.
Mm-hmm. So if they can make you sing in a platform, and that's all done outside on a server, and then they let you download it. But
I wonder what kind of artifacts that are in their eyes.
Yeah, it's just the eye reflection is really hard to get. But look at the background. His background's all screwed up.
Yeah, I've seen a few of them that had, smudges and weird things, but
wow. You see, overall. The future is very unknown.
Skynet, it's here.
Yes. We're training it. We're training it into existence. But this is the thing. Will this be the key actually for us to discover ourselves?
Fair. Or
because if you think about it, we're getting to the point where the processors are going to move things at an atomic level. So the switches are going to be like atomic size.
I think there's going to be some folks that take the dive with technology, and then there's going to be folks
who refuse.
Yes.
That refuse, and those folks are going to have different routes too. Like there's going to be folks that are very likely to go interdimensional with Lowell here. And then there's going to be folks that are going to be stuck out in the woods, but like Bandit here.
But what if the part of the trick they're offering you is that you'll also go interdimensional with the technology?
I'm not, the metaverse is not another dimension. No, sir. No,
but we can mimic now 10,000 drugs that we couldn't do before. Google did a very complex project and they released all the data. They basically discovered how to make thousands and thousands of new molecules and drugs. So we now have basically an infinite pharmacy that we just created. So things are about to get real creepy when it comes to even pharmaceuticals. They discovered that we can make psychedelics we didn't even know we could do. Now we know we can.
Interesting.
So imagine in the future that you can just make it so you don't feel sad. That's the only tricky part. That's the temptation. You're gonna
idiosyncrasy. Here we come.
Because you don't feel sad anymore.
Yeah, they're just gonna pump you full of drugs, man.
No, they can just control your drug flow. They can control your hormonal flow. Fuck selling you the drugs. The brain implant controls your flow. For example, if you could have an implant that would cure all your ailments, would you use it?
No.
No.
I'm human, man. I want to feel that stuff. Because when you don't feel that stuff anymore, you're not human anymore.
But what about somebody with chronic pain? So that's a good argument.
Now you're getting into whataboutisms, man. It's like, but we're talking like broad spectrum, like everybody. Like, this is what it's going to take for you to progress in society from here on out.
No, definitely. We're going to have the Flintstones Jetsons event. The Jetsons are going to be the ones that go for the technology, and the Flintstones are going to be the ones that stay on the ground and potentially connect with wildlife. If you look at the difference, there's no animals in the Jetsons.
Are you ready to get it, Fred? Because I'm ready. Barney Rubble's here with you all day, buddy.
I'll take Fred Flintstone over the Jetsons. And guess what? George Jetson's already been born. He was just born. He was born this year.
He was born this year.
Yeah, not long ago.
Just a month ago, wasn't it? George Jetson.
I think it was July or August.
Yeah.
So 42 years from now, when we have cities in the sky, damn, Hanna-Barbera is going to feel in his grave like, whoa, I got it right. Yeah.
But that's exactly what's going to happen. Is there's going to come a point where you're going to have to make a choice, and you're going to have to be prepared to make that choice, because it's going to be inevitable.
I mean, the people are doing that now. What did you say? That's already happening. The people making choices about what determines their future and what determines what they listen to.
Yeah,
it's happening with this
for everybody.
For this, you can choose to pursue and think of this and think of his recent story and his new story about, do you want to gravitate to believe any of this, or do you want to completely ignore it? If you choose to explore it, what may you find? And maybe exploring could be an alternative for somebody that really questions when they can never find the answer in the traditional. Sometimes obvious explore, but always verify too, because there's also a lot of things that can people get distracted. There's a lot of bad people that want to take your money and give you weird narratives in order to just extract money out of you. And those are just evil intentioned people that are utilizing the beliefs of other individuals into believing in the beyond for profit. That those are swindlers that are going to go straight to anything we call hell.
Absolutely. And then you come across genuine people that just want to come and tell you their truth and prove it as best as they can, like Lowell here. And I personally am greatly appreciative of you joining us and giving us that exclusive firsthand view of some of these beautiful artifacts and these amazing pictures and stuff that you shared with us here tonight. And it's definitely the kind of things that make you think and make you want to look further into this, or pack it on up and go up to Shasta and see what you can find. Like, come on, Luis, let's get some DMT and go spend a weekend at Shasta.
Just DMT.
That happens more often than you think.
Oh, we're getting MEO5 because we're in California. We're getting MEO5.
I don't know what that is, so you'll just have to fill me in.
It's 100 times stronger.
Okay, awesome.
Well, thank you guys for inviting me. I appreciate it. I want to find a time to come back and hang with y'all, and we'll pick another topic, another rabbit hole to get on, because this is lots of fun. But look, the information that we got together to share is meant for your audience too. We'll see who that triggers and what happens next. And you know where to find me, and now they know what kind of new content Jimbob and his sidekicks have got. Again, it was fun, and
I'm gonna actually explore with other friends of mine that are actually archaeologists, and if they can guide me to, hey, look at this stuff. Any direction? Trying to look at any direction? because they could be like, oh, let me ask this person, because they worked in ancient Greek history, but they might, because people talk about this. When they're in that field, you talk to other people in the same field. So
I find all of it fascinating, and I feel awfully flattered to be able to that you shared it here with us. Like this has been a fun venture, and I do hope you come back to hang out and just gab about other rabbit holes and other situations and such, because there's all kinds of great stuff out there. Bandit, you got anything you want to ask or add before we get ready to shut out?
Do not.
All good. What about you, Luis?
I wanted to simply mention that pieces that you got and the Ethereum and the other mix that you had. If you find a microscope and put a small part of that under a microscope, imagine the images you'll get out of that.
Oh my.
Just get a microscope. They're not that expensive either. If you want to explore weird stuff, or you want to play with kids, you want to see weird stuff, you want to see how a tomato looks inside. So it's always fun. I'm getting one and getting the attachments for the camera, because nice. I've seen my friends work with the microscopes, and honestly, if you want to explore the microverse, there's some really good TikToks and just really good YouTube channels that are incredible. It's so beautiful to just look at the world that is in front of us that we cannot perceive.
Yeah.
And there is new technology that allows us to see inside cells and seeing them moving. Wow. If you forget what you've seen, we're talking way deeper than that. And how everything's interacting with each other. It's really incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Well, of course, you guys know that I will have all the links for finding Lowell and all the things that we tried to discuss this evening and stuff, and his websites and his YouTube, so you guys can reach out to him, and even feel free to reach out to him on DUA Social. And while you're over there, you can find Luis's links to get back directly to his website. It's down there at the bottom of the homepage of Unconstitutional Awakening. He totally sent me a cool little symbol that's down there that it's like an Omega thing, and then I was like, yeah, let's run it. So it's down there on the page, so you guys can get to Luis directly too. And you guys know I can't end it without having something good for you. So what did the pirate say on his 80th birthday? He didn't say anything. Piracy is a dangerous profession, and life expectancy isn't very long. Y'all have a great night. Thank you.